are listening to Why I Vaccinate, and we now say hello and welcome Jeannette Sharp to the program. Jeanette is the mother of three small children, and she is here with us today to talk a little bit about how the family's been doing during the pandemic. And also, you're probably pretty excited that things seem to be getting a little bit better.
I'm very cautiously optimistic. I'll be honest. As recently as January, I was quarantining with my two youngest because of exposures in their classroom. So it's weird to be in early March and things feel very different. But it has definitely been an interesting 2 years with the three boys.
And how did you do, Jeanette, during this time? Was it stressful? Like, how did you end up managing?
I mean, to be honest, it's still stressful. It's yeah, and you have all these feelings of fear and guilt, and also responsibility to protect your community, in addition to your kids. And I, I mean, my husband teaches fifth grade, and so he obviously was doing virtual school for the vast majority of this pandemic. And so having two parents at home working with the three kids, that alone was a challenge. And then when he returned to in-person school this fall, I we had no choice. I can't do my full-time job and with the kids by myself. So they went back to daycare, and having to navigate daycare during this time. I mean, little kids get sick, right? And knowing, okay, well, is this COVID or is this a cold? And should they stay home? And dealing with that inconsistency in childcare and how that impacted, my work, and then struggling with trying to be the best employee that I can be, but also be the best mom while they're home. I mean, I feel like I'm still recovering from it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I bet. And these littles are little, right? The
Mhm.
ages are
Yes.
1, 1, 3, and 6?
Yep. Yes, they are. So my 6-year-old is vaccinated. We celebrated when we were able to do that. We went out. Actually, I got my booster the day he got his first dose, and he was excited. He knew that that was the beginning of getting back to normal, because he's old enough to remember before COVID, right? I mean, he was four and a half, so he remembers things, and he remembers when things were changing. When we saw people less, when we stopped going places, and so he was so excited. He was playing vaccine clinic for the time leading up to that, and in the weeks following. And he knows that his younger brothers can't get vaccinated yet, and he knows that we still have a responsibility to them and their communities. But I mean, it's really interesting, and he knew when kids from his class were leaving to go get their vaccine. Like, it was an event.
And I can see Veronica smiling because I think she is going through the exact same thing as you are.
Mhm.
So, Veronica, chime in here.
So I have three boys as well. I
Okay.
appreciate mine are a little bit older, but I appreciate so much the challenges of trying to do everything at the same time. What are you and your family like most excited about being able to do now that we're in this lower risk phase?
Well, I will say that, we are still being very cautious because my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old are not vaccinated, and we are very much looking forward to when that news changes. And my pediatrician, she knows that I'm eager, and told me that they'll get me in right away. So I am still being fairly cautious, but I cannot wait to take my little ones to story time, like my oldest got to do at the library. To We have a membership to the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum, which is an amazing place, an amazing nonprofit, and such a gem in our community. But for obvious reasons in the name, we haven't been even when they opened. So to be able to take them to that and have the experiences that their older brother did and that he remembers he's missing out on, that's what I'm excited about. Our local community festival that they have every year at the beginning of summer, we stayed away from that too, and I'm hoping that we'll have a vaccine by then, for the little ones. And I really got a lot out of the the risk budget that we were just listening
Mhm.
to, and thinking about that and thinking about paying attention to that in regards to that event. And that's definitely a highlight, because I think missing that was a big one.
Do your friends share your concerns for their unvaccinated kids? Are they looking forward to the vaccine as well?
I have, yes, most definitely, and I have friends who have a vaccinated older child and an unvaccinated younger child dealing with, the same thing. And the dynamic of the older kids being invited to birthday parties, and do you go, do you not go? But the younger one, it's difficult, and they are most certainly excited. And then I have friends who have had little babies during this time, and they I I think that they've been very nervous about their small children, and I mean, I'm talking less than a year old, and so knowing that they'll be able to move out of this and get those babies vaccinated, it's going to be a game changer for everyone.
So your youngest was born during the pandemic.
Mhm.
A lot different in terms of an experience than your older.
Yeah, I feel myself getting emotional
Mhm.
about this, so forgive me. But even just leading up to my delivery, I mean, if we thought we were being cautious before, we completely hunkered down because I was terrified of. So this was before I was eligible for the vaccine too.
Mhm.
So this was January, February of last year. We were very, very conservative about it. We didn't do anything. Even when it came to where we were getting carry out or going to get going to the grocery store, um, we reeled back everything. And that was because I didn't want to worry about me or my husband testing positive for COVID during that process. And to have to go into assessment and triage by myself during that time was, even though it was my third time, was still very scary. To, be laboring in a mask was an experience. But the most um, kind of impactful for me was not being able to have my boys come meet their brother.
Mhm.
And you know, I don't think I realized until that moment had come that it was going to be something that they were going to miss out on. And I don't want other people to miss out on that, because I remember when my oldest got to come meet, my now middle child, and that was just such a beautiful experience. And it meeting a baby on FaceTime for the first time does not compare to that. And
Yeah.
yes, obviously they've met their brother. We brought the baby home, but that's just an experience that they can't get back. Like, they can, trick or treating and trips to Disney World will come again, but that's something that is once in a lifetime. And I just hope that as children become vaccinated and the cases continue to go down, that other families can have that experience.
When you were able to get your 6-year-old vaccinated, were you having conversations with other moms? Were you able to share your level of comfort with being able to do that? I think that those conversations are so helpful to hear.
Certainly. Well, luckily in my circle, we didn't have, we share a lot of the same pediatricians. We didn't have too much to discuss. I think we, all were on a similar page. We were all very excited. We were sharing, oh, look at this clinic, you can get your dose here, or there's appointments available here. But the consistent bottom line was that we were all listening to our pediatrician, and sharing, oh yeah, doctor so and so said this to me, and doctor so and so said this. And it, that's, I think, what the most important thing to pay attention to is what your doctor that you trust your child with, on ongoing basis, what they have to say.
Jeanette Sharp, before we let you go, just give a little bit of advice to the young moms out there with children going through this. You've been through this. You said it hasn't been easy. What have you done to kind of make yourself feel better?
you know um, I've just made sure that I am consistent in what I do, and I'm acting in line with what we believe is right, keeping kids home from daycare when, we're just not sure, because
Mhm.
we want to make sure we're cognizant of other families. And, um, to make sure that we think about our kids and our community, and like I said, just trusting that my pediatrician who is trained and educated to evaluate this data and know that these vaccines are safe, and will give us the confidence to return to those normal events when we feel comfortable.
Jeanette Sharp, thank you so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you both. Take care.
Take
You
care.
are listening to Why I Vaccinate. We'll be back right after these messages.